I'm passionate about USA manufacturing. I believe there's going to be an American manufacturing renaissance. I think we're in the middle of it right now. We're at a wonderful inflection point. And today that's what we'll be talking about. I wear two hats. Not only do I own a steel fabricator in Baltimore, Maryland, I really make things like you guys do. I have a hat. I'm the chairman of the Small and Medium-Sized Manufacturers for the National Association of Manufacturers. It's given me an amazing exposure to what's going on in Washington, and I'm going to share some of that with you. I'll also be talking later on about some of the tools and techniques that we use at Marlin to improve employee engagement, to get your employees thrilled and fired up and motivated and dedicated to work in your facility. We'll also talk about reshoring. That's a very important topic. I had the pleasure of not only having some nice conversations with several of your co-members, a number of them told me about jobs they're bringing back from overseas here in San Antonio. So it's not just Marlin and Baltimore feeling it, it's also some of your fellow people in this room. It's thrilling. So the bottom line is we're very optimistic about the future, and I was going to describe some of the things that are cooking in Washington. So the bottom line about manufacturing is it means American jobs. It's the most critical element and why I'm so enthusiastic about manufacturing. We pull people up out of poverty. We bring them into the middle class. It's like that when you're flipping hamburgers. It's not like if you're a barista serving coffee. Manufacturing is unique in that it launches you to a level that Americans thrive and prosper in. Specifically, the average American factory worker is paid $80,000 a year. That's a stunning amount of dollars. That's the average. If the company is an exporter, on average it's $93,000 a year. Average. Obviously, some are higher and some are lower. But these are amazing jobs that Washington has to top, that our nation has to appreciate. This is a middle class that you can really send your kids to college, or you can have a nice vacation. It's the way that the rungs the ladder to the next level. We're at a very important point, I believe, in manufacturing. It's similar to the 60s, when John F. Kennedy said, we cannot afford to wait and see what happens. While the tide of events sweeps over and beyond us, we must use this time as a tool, not as a couch. JFK said that to the National Association of Manufacturers in 1961. It's as if he could have said it today to us. I had the privilege of meeting President Trump in March, and we spoke face to face. This is me introducing myself with a number of other small and medium-sized manufacturers, and we talked about some of the issues that we're grappling with, things that we need to do to improve the policies so that we can all thrive and we can all do better for our economy. Why were we there? Because manufacturers are unbelievably optimistic. Unbelievably optimistic. The National Association of Manufacturers does a quarterly survey where we ask manufacturers, hey, what do you think is going to be the prognosis for the future? Optimistic, pessimistic, blah, talk to us. This has been going on for over 20 years, this survey. The results went from under 57% to 93% in the March right after the election. 93%. That's like a North Korean election poll, right? 93%, right? By the way, in the two polls since then, it's hovered over 90% average over the three periods. It's not just manufacturers that are enthusiastic. You can see the Conference Board Consumer Confidence, University of Michigan Consumer Confidence, NFIB Small Business Optimism. Everybody's enthusiastic. It's not just manufacturers. This is one of the few times people will say it was actually a positive tweet. The president tweeted us out, okay? It was a good thing. That's me right there in the Oval Office, and this is us meeting with him. So when we were there, we talked about the issues. Before that, we met with Vice President Pence, when we talked about the topics that are important to manufacturers, we spent over an hour with Vice President Pence. On more than one occasion, this is the second occasion we met with Vice President Pence, that's a signal that the President and the Vice President are reaching out to National Association of Manufacturers, embracing them, want to hear what's going on. Just as an FYI, every single president has met with the National Association of Manufacturers Executive Board since FDR, everyone, FDR, Truman, Kennedy, Reagan, all of them. There was only one. For 8 years, he didn't meet us. Okay? It's such a contrast that in the last couple of months, we met with him many, many times. So President Trump said to us in that Oval Office, we're going to bring back manufacturing to the United States. Vice President Pence said, it's unacceptable what's been going on with the economy. We have been going at an anemic pace. It's unacceptable. We've been averaging 1-2% a year GDP. That stinks. We're going to move this back to 4 to 5%. Mind you, that's doable. Reagan was at 7%.
Oh,
Thank you. I could have gone on for a half hour.
just thought your heart was down.
I'm passionate about this. Bottom line is, Vice President Pence said, we're bringing us back to 4 to 5%. Why is this viable and achievable? Remember, Ronald Reagan got us a quarter with 7.3%. This is doable. 4 to 5% it can't even be done. We're going to see it happen. I created this little acropolis. It's based on what Trump pushed. Jobs, jobs, jobs. I'm bringing jobs back to America. I believe these are the 7 pillars to how Trump and this new administration is going to pull this off. These are the 7 explicit reasons why manufacturers are optimistic. Why are we 93%? These 7 reasons. Let's scroll back. Vice President Pence said, President Trump is going to do the same thing that worked in Indiana, where, by the way, Vice President Pence was the governor. He said, we're a right-to-work state, we're a low-tax state, we're a low-regulation state. Those things worked so well for us, Indiana flourished. Indiana is the #1 state as a percentage of jobs that's manufacturing employees. Our techniques worked. That was the strategy. We're going to use that in America. By the way, these are similar strategies that are being used in Texas, and it's working really well in Texas as well. This is a good strategy. When we talked to Pence, he stressed how humbled he was. He was choked up. He was literally choked up when he was talking with us. How humbling it was to have this position. How important it was to bring back the American dream to America. Bottom line is, Pence and Trump said, we're going to make America more competitive. We're going to be the reason why people are going to close factories overseas and move it to the best place in the world to build a factory in America. A lot of people in Washington, when we have meetings with them, this is what they think of when they think of manufacturing. They think of this 1950s picture from Pittsburgh with big smokestacks, belching out smoke, not treating your employees well. That's how most Washington politicians think of us. They're wrong. They don't know what's going on with modern manufacturing. And another critical thing about most politicians in Washington, they don't realize that most of us are small and medium-sized. There's over 227,000 manufacturers, 229,000 manufacturers in America. Over 227,000 of us are peanuts. They're tiny. They're under 500 employees. Most American factories have between 10 and 15 employees. So let's talk about this acropolis that's created to improve the job outlook. Number 1 is USA Energy. I'm in Texas. I don't have to explain to you how important energy is, okay? You guys get it. Having low feedstock, low-cost energy, whether it be coal, whether it be shale, wherever it's coming from, is a good thing. Because if our prices are cheaper, we're going to be more competitive against Korea, whose fuel prices are 3 times higher than us, cheaper than China, etc. Unleashing American energy is going to do wonders for our economy because you need people on the Dakota Pipeline welding. You need people on Keystone pulling pipe, driving the pipe to the point of contact. All kinds of jobs are created. Bottom line is, this is critical that for domestic manufacturing, unleashing our energy. By the way, this right here is James Branch. He's one of our factory employees. The New York Times did a story about him a year ago, October. Interesting fellow. Like many people in Baltimore City, he didn't have a lot of opportunities. And this is what the New York Times focused in on. Matter of fact, he had poor education, so what did he do? He started dealing drugs. It's a fast life. He got into big trouble. He served his time. He got out. He said, I'm never doing that again. He started working at Popeyes, minimum wage. Pivoted over to manufacturing. Fast forward, works at Marlin, runs several $250,000 machines. There's a wire forming machine. He runs this machine on our behalf. He's made so much money, and he's now part of the middle class. He sent his daughter through college, and she graduated. So this is what we all do. This is one of the many stories. If you Google James Branch in the New York Times, Marlin Steel, you'll read the article about it. Number 2 is infrastructure. Infrastructure is critical to manufacturers. We need good roads. We need good ports. We need good airports. We need good sewer systems. Our systems are decrepit and they're old. If you look, we haven't been investing properly. In the 70s, we were almost 3.8%. You could see how we're letting our assets deplete. We're not doing proper maintenance. You guys run factories. You know what happens if you don't maintain your equipment? It breaks, right? Well, that's what's happening with our roads and our ports. It's unacceptable. If you've ever flown to Shanghai or Beijing, they have gorgeous airports, right? You compare that in contrast to LaGuardia or JFK, it's embarrassing. You know, we're like Bangladesh when it comes to roads in Baltimore City. It's because we're not investing properly. President Trump's talked about investing over $1 trillion into our infrastructure. It's needed. The American Society of Civil Engineers graded us as a D+. D+, America, the greatest country in the world, should not be a D+ in infrastructure. President Trump, who's a builder, I believe is going to improve this. Next is tax reform. It's a hot topic. We had a good day today in Washington. It was a critical day. A very important vote happened. It's not all done. We've got a ways to go. But tax reform is going to be really good for American manufacturers, and part of the reason why we're optimistic. JFK had a great line. He cut taxes in America, and the way he explained it was, it's a paradoxical truth that taxes are too high today. Is that familiar? And tax revenues are too low. And the soundest way to raise the revenue in the long run is to cut the rates now. Well, that's what President Trump is going to do. He's using the JFK playbook, also Ronald Reagan playbook. And when they cut taxes, revenues went up, okay? The economy flourished. That's going to happen again. Buckle your seatbelts. I'm optimistic. I think you should be optimistic. It's going to be good when this starts rocking and rolling. The last time we updated our tax system was when Ronald Reagan was in office in 1986. That was him giving the pitch. That's crazy. When Donald Trump announced that he was going to be pursuing this, he did this in front of the National Association of Manufacturers. When he got out of the limo, I had the privilege of meeting him and shaking his hand. And I told him, because he's doing this, Marlin, my company, is going to be investing $1.2 million before the end of the year in new investments, because we're going to be exploiting this excitement, and we're going to take advantage of it. I hope you two consider it as well. And that's what I told him. He said to me, it's going to help you, because rather than you writing things off over 30 years, you'll be able to write things off this year. So let's talk about Trump's plan. It's going to reduce how many brackets we have, from 7 to 3. And who hates that kind of stuff? H&R Block. Okay? It's good. Simplification's good. People that are paying at a 10% rate, they're going to pay at the 0% rate. He's going to reduce the corporate tax rate, that's the big guys, from 35% to a lower number, hopefully 15%. That means guys like GE and Caterpillar and Ford and people that we sell to, Merck and Novartis, they're going to have a lower tax rate. Hopefully we're going to be able to win more jobs when they compete against Komatsu in Japan, or they'll be able to compete better against Siemens, etc. It's going to eliminate the death tax. That's very important for people in this room that own a business, a small business. You don't want the government to own half of the take of your hard work, of your entire life's hard work. And other benefits is big simplification. 90% of Americans are going to be paying with a postcard, not with accountants getting rich off of our fees. In addition, LLCs and sub-S corporations, 70% of factories are organized as an LLC or a sub-S corporation. 70% of us pay in this way. Our rates will go from 39-something% down to 25%. It's a tremendous benefit for all of us. When we talk about instant expensing, they're talking about instant expensing if you buy a building, okay? Or if you buy any kind of robot or automation. This is going to give your employees amazing tools so they're going to be more competitive against Mexico. They're going to be more competitive against China. So it's more viable to build here in America. This is Max, and she does all of our fixtures. The molds, when we make a basket, she makes the unit that holds all of our parts as they go through the various robots. Bottom line is this plan, according to some economists, will increase 6.5 million jobs into the USA. 6.5 million. Bottom line, tax reform is critical to American manufacturing. We desperately need it. The Chamber of Commerce has put this together where it's a step-by-step, by date, what has to happen when. And we're chugging through. This is a little outdated because this is from last week when I was preparing for this meeting. We're knocking off these dates. We're moving it all forward. Hopefully they'll be assigned before Christmas. What a blessing that will be for all of us. Bottom line is, you can see right now, this is where our tax rate is for our companies, like Caterpillar and General Electric. This is the worldwide average. This is why Siemens wins jobs. This is why Komatsu beats Caterpillar. Because they can charge this kind of rate, and we're charging this kind of rate. It's not competitive. We're getting our clocks cleaned with this current system. This is Kenny, who makes our samples and our fixtures. He's doing a job for Volvo already. Next is repatriation. There's over $3 trillion, some say 4, some say $5 trillion locked up overseas. Why? Because what happens is big companies like Facebook and Google and GE, what will happen is they'll make money overseas in a factory overseas, and they can't bring it back unless they get taxed not only in, let's say, in France, they'll get taxed again when they bring it back into America. That double taxation is a big no-no. Nobody wants to pay taxes twice. So what do? They keep it overseas. So it's sitting over there, Swiss bank accounts, French bank accounts, Japanese bank accounts. It's earning negligible interest rates. If it all comes rushing home, it's going to be the biggest sugar rush for our economy. Again, it's unclear whether it will be $2 million of cash rushing home or $4 trillion. It's going to be delicious because people are going to come back, and they're going to invest in factories, they're going to buy robots, they're going to buy automation, they're going to hire people, they're going to do marketing campaigns. Now, some of it will be dividends. That'll be good for the stock market. Some will be share buybacks. That'll be good for the stock market and engineers and employees. Bottom line is it's going to be such a blessing for our economy, and it'll be a nice shot in the arm to really get things rolling. Trade. The president has talked repeatedly about trade and how he's going to take it differently than prior administrations. One of the first things he did was get out of TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, where you had 14 countries doing a deal, New Zealand, Vietnam, Peru, Japan, America. He had 14 countries all in this one deal. He got out of it. For years and years, I've been very supportive, and man, I've been very supportive of trade deals like TPP, like NAFTA, etc. The president is vigorously against it. We talked with Vice President Pence about it. Why would you get out of TPP? It sounds like such a good deal. And Vice President Pence explained it to me this way. It was a very compelling answer. He said, when we're negotiating with 14 other countries, right, our heft, our power, our thrust, right, is minimized. It is minimized because we're a smaller subset of the 14 countries. We instead want to cut a lot of deals, but we want to do bilateral deals, one-on-one deals. Why? Well, because if we're sitting down with Peru, we're an 800-pound gorilla. They've got to cut a deal with us. We're huge. But if we're a part of 14, we minimize our stature. And because of that, we can't command as good a deal. But if we're one-on-one versus Vietnam, one-on-one versus Japan, we have more heft, we'll be able to push around the other country in a fashion to protect the American manufacturing work better. That was their point of view. Let's see how this all plays out. It's critical that we remember, though, that trade is very good for America and very good for factories. You can see here, the blue line is manufacturing output. Here's NAFTA, here's WTO, the Korean Free Trade Agreement. You can see manufacturing output consistently goes up. And manufacturing goods being exported consistently goes up. NAFTA, the Korean Free Trade Agreement, these guys had the worst press agent in the world, okay? The beating that these trade deals have had is merciless, okay? They have partially propelled a lot of success. Now, the NAFTA deal is old, it's 23 years old, it's freshened up, there's some works on it. It was before IPOs were created, but bottom line is trade is good for our nation. And you can see almost 50% of American output, American factory output, is exported. And when my guys watch us make baskets that ship to Peoria, Illinois from Caterpillar, they think they're shipping to a domestic client, right? Well, that's not reality, because what's happening is when Caterpillar ships, more than 50% of what Caterpillar ships goes overseas from that plant. So really, we're deeply ensconced in the export market. We need a thriving export market. All this stuff. And just so you know, like, it's not just factories, it's also farming. 1 in 3 acres in America is exported. Next is regulations. Regulation is another reason why American manufacturers are so optimistic. Vice President Pence specifically talked about the Carrier deal, where Carrier was thinking about leaving, but President Trump pressed them to stay in America. Pence told us the backstory. According to Pence, what happened was they were the last company, Carrier was the last company in their industry that was still making domestic. Everyone else, all their other competitors had already fled America. They were already overseas. They were the last one holding out. And in the last 2 years of the Obama administration, there were over 50 new regulations imposed on them. And they couldn't take it. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back, so they gave up and they said, we're out of here. Trump called them up and said, I'm going to get rid of every one of those 50, so you will stay. And they did. And that's what Pence attributes them coming back. Regulations kill companies. People don't see how insidious it is and how challenging it is for American factories. Churchill had a great line. If you have 10,000 regulations, you destroy all respect for the law. Here's the problem with American manufacturers. We have over 297,000 regulations today. It's out of control. Everybody wants clean water. Everybody wants clean air. Everybody wants worker rights. You can't be mean to your workers. You can't spoil the environment. That's a given, right? But you can get away with doing all those things without 297,000. Obviously, some of that is ridiculous and over the top. President Trump explicitly asked us when I was in that room with him to say, listen, don't give me platitudes about regulations. He said specifically, give me rules that are job killers for you. Give me a list. The National Association of Manufacturers compiled a list, and we submitted it, and they're hammering away on that list. If you in this room have an idea, a job-killing regulation, I implore you. He insisted that we give him more things to work over. Anything that's slowing you down from hiring a person, please email me. I'll have my email address at the end. Please email me that job-killing regulation, and I'll get it in the hands of the right people, and hopefully no guarantees we can get this thing knocked out. Okay?
I have one right now. Fire the bureaucrats who sit around all day, and the NGOs who dream this crap up. That's how they justify their existence. Get them out and get them working for you. Then let them go back and decide if they want to do that.
So they're looking for explicit regulations, very, which code, which agency. I was having drinks in the beginning at the cocktail, and some of the people that I met told me about some of the challenges they had and the fines they had that were over the top, overwrought, ridiculous fines, okay? And things that made it just absurd, right? So I handed my card out to a couple people. If you think of one of these rules that's impacting your business, that's slowing you down from hiring somebody, let me know, and I'll get it in the right hands. No guarantees, hopefully we can pull something off. This is Eddie, he works in our wire fabrication line. This is Chris, he's one of our mechanical engineers. The bottom line is, manufacturers need regulatory reform so that we can grow our economy. And 87% of American factory owners say if we had less regulations, we would hire more people, we'd invest more in our economy. And it really is an outsized pain to small guys. If you look here, the average American factory that's small, under 50 employees, is paying $34,000 per year per employee in regulatory burden. That's unacceptable. Now again, we want clean air. Again, we want clean water. We want to protect our workers. These are givens, of course. But can't we do it with maybe only $17,000 of pain? Can you imagine how many jobs we create in our nation if we can get that to be a more tame number? I did want to stress one thing. The president promised on the campaign that he was going to get rid of 2 regulations for every new one that they imposed in Washington. There you go. He's done better than he promised. Specifically, he's been, so far, cutting 16 to 1. That's the ratio right now, 10 months in. It's early. He's hopefully going to do better, 16 to 1. This is, again, part of the reason why Americans are so optimistic. And obviously, as you guys know, the Keystone Pipeline was started, the Dakota Pipeline was started, and he's ended the war on coal. All of these things are happening. This confluence of events is going to really create a very positive ascent for American manufacturing. And again, a cornerstone to why I believe the American manufacturing renaissance is going to thrive. There's a couple other subtle things that's a win for factories that people don't talk about. The president promised that he was going to have Scalia-like justices deciding, adjudicating our cases. Well, Gorsuch is a home run. He falls into that bucket. So he's done a great job. And some people think he may get 3 more Supreme Court justices before the end of his tenure, which would be stunning. He's already nominated 60 judges, and there's 160 right now that are soon to be filled. One thing that's important about these judges is how they interpret the law and how they go about it. This is going to have a big impact, not only regulations, but in a way regulations, how the regulations are interpreted. And remember, these judges might be sitting in those benches for 30 years. So this is not just a 4-year window of goodness. This is going to be for 30 years we're going to have rational people interpreting the laws in a way that's productive for American families. And let's talk about healthcare reform. I'm not too pleased with how that's going. This is Nathan. He runs one of our wire forming robots, actually 5 of them. And he actually, on Manufacturing Day, the president made us an announcement and a proclamation for Manufacturing Day. And Nathan was standing behind him in the Oval Office. And when the president signed the proclamation, he gave the pen to Nathan, and he's cherishing it. Healthcare, bottom line, the House voted the right way. That was a good thing. Unfortunately, the Senate failed very miserably. We met with Senator McConnell, who's the fellow that's in charge of the Senate, and he said, "You guys know the 80-20 rule?" I'll chuckle because if you're a manufacturer, you know the 80-20 rule. He's like, "I spend 80% of my time on 4 senators. I have 4 senators that I have to spend 80% of my time with." Okay? We came so close in the Senate. Didn't happen. It's devastating. However, hopefully it will get better because they'll relook at it again in the future. No guarantees. In the interim, he legislated through the pen. He said, we're allowed to start buying from other states. So right now, I'm from Maryland, and we have basically a cartel. I just have a handful of companies, and we used to have a lot of companies, but now I just have a very small group of companies that we can buy from. I can't wait to have an opportunity to buy from Texas, or I can't wait for Virginia or South Dakota, whoever has a better deal, right? I have the same health insurance plan as my employees do. I have 3 boys. My 3 boys have the same plan as Nathan's kids, right? So it really matters to me, and I hope by having lots of competition, we'll all do better. And at least that's a partial win. Hopefully they'll come back and we'll get a good vote. If you believe, like I do, that these policies that we just talked about, this Acropolis, is so critical, I ask you, please text right now. It's okay to get your cell phone out. How often do you hear a speaker say that? Please get your your cell phone out and text the word friends to to this number right here, 52886. And you'll be put on a list of people, and they'll tip you off when there's some new legislation coming out where we need your support, so that you can email or text or have much more importantly, have your employees call critical congresspeople or senators that are not voting the right way, that need a little nudge for a reality check, because they need to hear from our side how to do it, how to vote. And it will tip you off via text. Hey, this is an important piece of legislation coming up. Please tip off your congressman. So again, it's 52886, text friends, and we'll add you to the list. By the way, I'm going to give Ray a copy of this, and if anybody wants to look at this later or share with somebody, you'll be able to share it with them afterwards, and you can get it then. So let's talk about reshoring. Ray said reshoring is an important topic in this area. Let me tell you a little anecdote about us. Our best #1 client in 2008 came to us in 2008 because they were having quality problems out of Ireland, where they were getting all their things made. They were making it in Ireland and then importing it to Nebraska. And that was going on for many years. The quality was atrocious. They were having fits. They pivoted to us as our biggest order ever. It's consistently been our biggest order ever. It's telecommunications wire forms. And we were shipping to Nebraska, and then got a bad phone call. They were moving the plant to Mexico. All of a sudden, we were like biting our nails. Scary, scary stuff, right? It turns out, it didn't work out so bad for us, bad for the people from Nebraska, but we kept on, and every day now we ship to Mexico, and they make the parts in Mexico. And to my surprise, we've gotten along really great with the Mexican team, and the Mexican team decided that they were getting a lot of headaches and frustration with another wire vendor out of India. And we just got the news the other day that they're closing down that relationship with that Indian vendor, and they're moving everything over to Marlin. So not only do we whup the Irish, now we're whupping the Indians, and we're making it all in Baltimore. We're using skill from Chicago. From that, and maybe I hope this helps you, is the way we beat the Irish is quality. Extraordinary quality. We're focused like a laser beam on quality. And the reason why we're beating the Indians is on time. So I think if you deploy those things, that'll help you. And this killer client of ours is more than doubling in size. We're going to be buying another $250,000 worth of robots to handle them. We're going to be hiring $380,000 a year people to facilitate this client. Other reasons why I think reshoring is going to continue happening, and I heard a number of reasons in the room. One person was telling me about quality of the material they buy in this room, the quality that they buy versus what China brings over. Other things the reasons why I think a lot of reshoring is going to happen is intellectual property rights. If you conceive of some idea in America, the person across the street is not going to steal it. And if they do, you have the rule of law and you go after them. In China, the Communist Party is totally in favor, got no problems with them stealing something. It's going to be stolen, and you can't stop it. And in some cases, if you want to move your plant to that country, you have to give them your source code. You have to give them your intellectual property for the privilege of living there, of having a factory there. How outrageous is that? That's one of the things President Trump talked with us about that. He said he's going to put an end to that. And when he goes to China, he's going to talk to them about that. I love that. Because intellectual property is how we differentiate ourselves. We don't win jobs because we pay our people poorly. We don't win jobs because we allow effluent to go into the Chesapeake Bay. That's the bay where Baltimore's on. That's where we get our crabs. Everybody loves Maryland crabs. It's the Chesapeake Bay. We don't want effluent going into the Chesapeake Bay, right? We want clean environment. So these are the things that are going to keep, I think, America going. And I think more reshoring to occur. Another thing is, labor rates are going up consistently in China, ballpark almost 20% a year in, year out. Pretty soon, the Chinese labor rate is going to get pretty close to the American labor rate if it keeps on going in this trend. Plus, they have a 50% Social Security tax over there. Number 4 is a short distance. If you're in America, you need to change from blue to red to green or whatever customer wheels change. I mean, today it's blue, tomorrow it's red. If you got a big boat coming in from China, you're getting whatever's on that boat. Again, quality is critical, as we've discussed in the past. One entity that you should be aware of, if you get a chance, Google Harry Moser, M-O-S-E-R. He has a really neat, pardon me? Reshoring. He has a really neat checklist so that you can compare your domestic price that you're making here in the U.S. versus the Chinese or the Mexican or the overseas price. And he goes through step by step. It's an amazing document that you could share with your client when they're making a decision. They're like, we're thinking about moving it overseas. Populate this document for them. Again, Google Harry Moser. He'll help you concoct this document so that you can show your client why it makes sense to stay in America. So let's talk about manufacturing 4.0. The bottom line is how to keep your company healthy in the future. I believe it's all in productivity. It's all in the people. If you look, this is the output per worker in 2016. India here is at about $17,000. China, output per worker, is about $25,000. You can see over here by far is the USA, over $110,000 output per worker. We're the most productive nation in the world, our employees. They're extraordinarily productive. I'm going to spend a couple minutes now talking about ways to amp it up even more, to get even more out of your employees, how to get them more dedicated, more energized. Here's some tips that we've used, we've exploited. Maybe they'll be useful for you. Just so you kind of put this in context. This is the day I bought the company, Marlin Steel. We were in Brooklyn, New York. It was a tiny shop. Every bend was done by hand. When I say every bend, we had 8 men with arms the size of Popeye. One arm, the right arm. And they would hand bend, I kid you not, every day, 300 bends an hour. That was their job, 300 bends an hour. And then you know what they do the next hour? 300 more bends. They do that 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and you know what they do the next week? Again. And that's their career, right? We had 3 guys missing fingers, 2 guys missing eyes, right? When they would go to work, they would walk. Every one of them. Nobody owned a car. Nobody owned a home. Okay? The health insurance planners would go to the emergency room, and the retirement plan was called Social Security. All right? Fast forward, Marlin's a very different place. But what we were doing is we were making bagel baskets. When you go to a bagel shop, we made the baskets. They look like this. Now we do things like expanded metal baskets for material handling. This is a Ford F-150, the steering columns. We make all the baskets that hold the steering column components and the hooks that hold all their high-value parts that go through the production line. We also do big baskets that go into big dipping tanks and acid tanks. We do compartment baskets. Like if you type in, if you go into Grainger or McMaster, MSC Global, all those companies, they use my baskets. We have a laser. My point is, we're a real American factory, okay? I'm not a policy wonk that just, talks. We really make things in America. 100% America. We export to 39 countries. We import nothing. We buy everything from our sheet metals from the Newport plant in Crawfordsville, Indiana, and all of our stainless steel is from the Illinois plant. This is the president of Siemens. This is our medium frequency welder, 10-foot by 4-foot welder. Press brakes, punches, robotic welding equipment. This is from Lincoln, Cleveland, Ohio. So here's my suggestions on where to focus to get the most out of your employees so they can be more productive. It's all in the workforce. The number one rule, the cornerstone of where I'm coming from, the foundation is you have to look at your direct labor like they're a fixed cost. Many companies look at their direct labor like a variable cost. I insist that when you contemplate your employees, you have to think of them as like a rent payment, or a mortgage payment, or a car, or as a bank debt payment. It's a given. You're definitely paying it. If you have that mentality, your employees are more dedicated, they're more engaged, they're more willing to give it their all for you. They're more willing to point out ways to improve your company. You care about that. you're in this together, you're more engaged with them, you're more willing to train them because you know you want them to retire with you. One thing that we do when we're recruiting talent and evaluating talent is something called the Polaris Profile. We model all of our A rockstar employees, and we set that as their target. And then when we interview people, we use Polaris as a way to figure out whether or not they have attributes that are the same that will do well. So that's one way when we're bringing in new talent, that's a technique we use. Another thing that we do is we embrace safety. There's two companies here with extraordinary safety records. It was wonderful to discuss their techniques with them tonight. We also strive to have an amazing safety record. We've gone 525 days without a lost time accident and over 3,200 days with only one lost time accident. One thing that we've done is pursued a program called SHARP. It's a program through OSHA called SHARP. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I encourage you to pursue it. What it's all about is this. Most people, when they think of OSHA coming to their front door, the first thing they do is they grab a cross and some garlic, right? That's the first approach. Right? I recommend instead OSHA's other side, which is their mentoring, their consultative approach. Bring them in. Have them come in and give you suggestions on how to up your game, how to protect their employees. Your employees will be very impressed with you that you're taking that approach and you care about their well-being. This is a picture right here of Secretary Acosta. He's in President Trump's he's the Secretary of Labor, and he came to us on Manufacturing Day, and he's in charge of OSHA. And this is us with our SHARP Award. We're one of 5 companies in the state of Maryland that have a SHARP Award. One of the benefits, one of the privileges of SHARP, because they're so comfortable with your process and your rigor, is that they will not do a surprise inspection on you, okay? Because they have comfort that you're treating your employees well, and you have their best interests in heart.
Is that like
your employees know that you're sharp. They know you care about it. With a vigorous safety committee, I think these are all techniques that get your employees more engaged, more enthusiastic about working for you, more dedicated to being on your team in the future. One critical element about safety: focus on near misses. The near misses are the elements that are most likely to ultimately be your next accident. So drill down on near misses, be relentless, do everything you can to make sure that a near miss never can happen again. This is the governor coming to visit us when we got our first show. Next topic is the skills matrix. We believe that a skills matrix is a great way to improve employee engagement. Many companies, the way to get a promotion is by playing golf with your or having beers with the plant manager. That's how you get a promotion. That's how you get a raise. In our company, we have what's called a skills matrix, where we show every single employee's at the top of an Excel spreadsheet right here is in the lunchroom, and every single skill is detailed right here. If you learn one of these skills, you get a pay raise. We'll train you during working hours while you're punched in. The idea is that we want to teach you and show you how to get ahead. It's not by drinking beer with the owner or playing golf, right? It's by learning these skills. This is what we care about. Some skills are easy, you get 1 point. Some skills are hard, you get 2 points. Some skills are really hard, you get 3 points. Some are extraordinarily hard, you get 4 points. We use this technique to get people engaged and motivated and fired up to learn more things. The other thing we do is we have a production bonus system where we give employees skin in the game. We make them shopkeepers. We make them entrepreneurs within our factory. And if they get more bucks in a 2-week period of time, because they think in a 2-week period of time, they don't think in a 1-month period of time, they don't think quarterly, they don't think annually, they get a bonus for doing well in their little part of the world, we believe they'll be more engaged, more fired up, and they'll hit big bonuses, and they'll be more involved in the company, and they'll stick around with the company longer. One benefit is we were able to get rid of the whole level of middle-level employee. Guys that walk around with the clipboards that say, hey, you're talking too much about the Ravens, or hey, you're talking too much about the Orioles, or you're going to the bathroom too much. It's demeaning. You're not treating your employees like professionals. You're not treating them like adults. By having a production bonus system, they're self-motivated because they want to score, they want to hit their points, they want to get the bucks. Another technique we use is heavy emphasis on training. We spend 5% per employee on direct labor, as a percentage of direct labor on training. This helps them improve their game. They can make more out, like for example, the laser operator has less scrap, more uptime. The machine is making better quality parts. Highly recommend very vigorous campaign of training that gets them more engaged, more energized, more likely to stay with you. Other techniques that we use is a relentless focus on quality, a relentless focus on engineering. 20% of our employees are degree mechanical engineers. They're doing things like stress analysis. This is how we differentiate ourselves from China. This is how we encourage reshoring. We really focus on giving our clients something that's unique that a pedestrian Mexican company or a low commodity Vietnamese or Chinese company can never offer. Another thing that makes us different is quick. Focusing on big robotics, automation, so that we can really push out products quicker than our competition, so that we can run laps around China. Lots of robotics. A lot of people talk about robotics is going to take over all of our jobs. I disagree with them. I think, like in that Indian example I was telling you about earlier, we're going to hire 3 people because we're bringing in more robots. Now, in India, over here, they're going to get their clock cleaned. But over here in America, we're going to be growing jobs because of robotics. Robotics, I think, increases jobs, and it makes sure that you're not going to become extinct, which means you'll have 0 jobs. The key thing about robotics is you want to kill things that are high chance of a safety incident. You want to also get rid of things that are repetitive and boring. So the bottom line is, thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. It's critical that you join us and try to help us change Washington. I hope you get a chance to text tonight on that number so we can improve the policies in Washington. Thank you so much.